To anyone walking by, this might look like a normal scene. A dad buying his daughter a drink at a gas station, but look closer. The little girl in the blue shirt is keeping her distance, crossing her arms and avoiding eye contact. She calls this man Dad, but he's not her father. What you're about to hear is the chilling true story of a brave 8-year-old girl who outsmarted a monster, survived weeks of hell, and brought down a serial killer. Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. May 16, 2005. Shasta Groene, 8. And her 9-year-old brother Dylan live a quiet life with their mom Brenda, her boyfriend Mark, and their older brother Slade. But at 6 a.m., their lives shatter. A man with a shotgun breaks into the house. He zip-ties the family, beats the adults with a hammer, and kidnaps Shasta and Dylan, leaving a bloody scene behind. Only hours later, a neighbor discovers the horror and calls police.
I went to the door to pay the little kid $10 for mowing the lawn, and there's blood all over the door. Nobody comes through the door.
They find the bodies of Brenda, Mark, and 13-year-old Slade, but Shasta and Dylan are gone.
The fact that the bodies were so beaten up so badly, it made the crime appear to be a crime of passion.
You begin to think about who could have been so angry at this family to want to inflict such injury on these people.
An Amber Alert is issued. Hundreds of tips pour in. Suspicion even falls on the children's biological father. Tips flood in, but all lead to dead ends. Shasta and Dylan are simply gone. Meanwhile, Shasta and Dylan are taken nearly 100 miles away to a remote Montana campsite. There, the nightmare begins.
He grabbed the hammer. He said, "See this hammer? This is the hammer that I murdered your mom and your stepdad and your brother with." And he was like, "They're not alive and you're never going to see them again."
The man who took them. His name is Joseph Edward Duncan III, a convicted sex offender with a disturbing past. Duncan videotapes the children. He manipulates them, threatens them, breaks them down psychologically.
He got really mad, started throwing things. He took more of his anger out on Dylan and was really mean to him. He would abuse him and then make me watch. And then if I cried, then he would abuse him worse. I said, "I promise that we're going to make it out alive." That was my way of comforting my brother, just letting him know that we would never stop fighting.
One night, Duncan brings out a notebook, says he has a new idea. Something nice, something that will give them hope. He sits across from Shasta and Dylan by the fire and asks them to write letters to their family. Shasta knows her mom is already gone, but she plays along, pretends. She starts writing, not for Duncan, but for herself. It's for Dylan to survive.
"Dear Dad, I miss you very much, and me and Dylan know what happened to Mom, Mark, and Slade, and we both feel very sorry for them, and we both miss you and Jesse and Vance, and we might see you guys again."
After weeks in captivity, Duncan tells them, "If you catch a squirrel, I'll let you go." The kids actually catch one. Dylan smiles for the first time in days. But Duncan had never planned to let them go. Instead, he shoots Dylan in front of Shasta. She doesn't scream. She doesn't cry. She stares, frozen. Then Duncan forces her to help burn her brother's body. It's horrifying and human, but Shasta somehow survives it all.
He came up to me and was crying. He said it was an accident. He didn't mean to. I didn't know what the first shot was, but I knew that the second time was on purpose. He said that he did it so that Dylan wouldn't have to feel pain.
Alone now, Shasta realizes her only way out is through him. She starts calling him Jet's favorite nickname. She pretends to be friendly, listens to his stories, makes him feel in control.
He was just like, "You have the choice to be strangled or you have the choice to be shot like your brother, and that one's going to be quicker." I felt like if I had chose the strangulation, that I might have a chance to talk him out of what he was doing.
Duncan lays his guard down. He even asks her where she used to live. She tells him about Coeur d'Alene, about her school, her house, her life.
And I said, "Can you take me to where I grew up? I want to show you where I went to school, and I want to show you where my best friend lives. I want to show you all these places that are important to me because you're important to me." And he was like, "Yeah, of course, I would love to."
July 2nd, 2005. Nearly 7 weeks later, Duncan and Shasta pull into Coeur d'Alene. They stop at a Denny's to eat. Shasta, wearing a blue shirt and flip-flops, walks in and sits down. Her eyes dart around. A waitress recognizes her. She alerts the manager. They stall Duncan by messing up his order. A quiet hero at the restaurant calls police.
As I was walking in, I noticed that my missing persons poster was right there. There was this guy standing outside, and he was with his friends, and he nodded his head, and I nodded my head, and he went up to the counter and made it kind of seem like he was conversating with one of the waitresses, and then I seen her look over at me.
I've got a little girl here with a tall gentleman, and she looks so much like that Shasta, and we're not sure. I don't know.
My only table at the time, and I immediately recognized her. His entire world revolved around her. She didn't speak without his permission. There was something just not okay.
Minutes later, police rush in. They ask her, "What's your name?" She says, "I'm Shasta." One officer says he almost dropped to his knees. She's alive. Joseph Duncan is arrested immediately.
The whole entire restaurant started clapping. Like, they all knew who I was. They all knew that I was a missing person, and like it was kind of like they all played a factor into my rescue.
The thought of an 8-year-old girl having to observe this and then having to relive it to an investigator after the fact is just amazing to me. She witnessed things that grown people would be traumatized for the rest of their lives and never be able to speak about.
I remember him telling me that he was able to get the dog to come to him, and he gave her treats and stuff, and like befriended our pit bull, so that when he did come into the house to do what he was going to do, there was not that type of issue to get in the way.
He had thought about everything to make sure that he was going to commit the perfect crime.
Joseph Duncan criminal history horrifies investigators. He had been released on bail for unrelated charge. His aunt went on the run. Shasta tells detectives everything: the hammer, the cabin, the videos, Dylan. Her courage helps prosecutors build a rock-solid case.
31 years of being involved in the criminal justice system, I have never met a more evil person than Joseph Duncan.
Duncan is charged with multiple murders, kidnapping, sexual assault, child abuse. He is sentenced to death in 2008. But in 2021, before the execution could happen, Duncan dies of brain cancer in prison.
I don't hate him for the things that he's done. I forgive him, actually. If I don't forgive him, then he's going to control my life. I want him to know that I'm doing good things with my life too, so that he knows that he doesn't control my life and that he doesn't affect me anymore.
Shasta is the only known survivor of Duncan's crimes. She went through unspeakable trauma, but today she's grown, a mother, fighter, a voice for victims. She says she lives her life for Dylan, for the brother, who smiled one last time before the end. Her bravery led to the capture of a serial killer, and her story reminds us sometimes the smallest voice can be the strongest one. And sometimes a girl in a blue shirt becomes a hero. Rest in peace, Dylan, Slade, Brenda, and Mark. Like, comment, and subscribe for more real-life survival stories.